В много важен момент за Европейския съюз се намираме в момента и за Хърватия също. В момента сме на гости на хърватския посланик в България, нейно превъзходителство Даниела Баришич. Това, което ще ви направи впечатление, е, че тя говори прекрасен български език. Здравейте и благодаря, че ни приехте. Рядко се случва чуждестранен дипломат да говори толкова добър български език. Откъде го знаете?
Мерси много. Дойдох тук преди скоро 3 години и започнах нормално с часовете с преподавателка. След това четох, гледах телевизия, слушах радио и така научих горе-долу. Не е толкова лошо.
Помага ли за работата да знаете български?
Да, разбира се, много ми помага.
Определено. Тъй като ще говорим за процеса на присъединяване на Хърватия към Европейския съюз, ще преминем на английски език и заради нашата чуждестранна аудитория. Okay, now Croatia is on the final stage of its accession process. After the EU leaders decided in June that Croatia should sign its accession treaty, do we already have a date? When is the treaty going to be signed and where?
Yes, it is confirmed that the accession treaty would be signed in Brussels on 9th of December, right before the meeting of the European Council.
Right. It was discussed before that to be signed in Warsaw. What happened?
Yeah, but we talked to our Polish friends as they are presidents of the Europe, so we decided it's good to be signed in Brussels.
This is a very hot issue right now. Is there going to be a referendum in Croatia for the accession?
Yes, of course, it's going to be a referendum because we are obliged to, according to our constitution, to have the referendum anytime when Croatia is acceding to some integration of going to be the union of the states. So we have to have a referendum, but I don't think it's going to be a problem because it was our national aim, our national cause to become a member of the union. I can say that we feel it like we are coming back home to Europe because we always feel that we are a part of Europe. So I don't think that there is going to be any problem.
So and the people would like that, and the polls show probably that a positive reaction.
Yeah, that's right. According to the polls and the research of the sociologists, somewhere between 55 and 60% of the people are in favor of joining the European Union. Of course, there are some of them who are not in favor, but that's a democracy. Everyone should speak and should tell their feelings. But I don't think that there is a problem. We've been informing our citizens since we started the negotiation process. Of course, that information campaign was not always so intense or so, let's to say, visible. In this final stage, since we finished the negotiation in June, we started as I said, intensified campaign. We can see billboards, many TV or radio clips, but of course also before we had booklets, leaflets, we have TV shows or radio shows to explain to the people what is going to be like when we join the European Union. So of course you cannot conduct a campaign for 6 years as long as we conducted the negotiation, so it's hard to preserve a focus. Mm-hmm. So we can say that that information campaign was in stages and it was in various models.
Right. And when is this referendum going to take place?
When we signed the accession treaty, after that, according to the constitution, 2/3 of the majority of all members of the parliament has to decide that we are going to be the part of the union. So after that, within 30 days after the decision, we have to organize and to go to the referendum.
Right. Okay, does Croatia feel prepared? You said that it's like a national goal, and most Croatians feel that this is their place that they always belong to. But the accession process is full of a lot of tough things. Is Croatia prepared?
Yes, we are prepared since we had 35 chapters for negotiations, so it covered all the areas of society, life, economy, everything. And we had the benchmarks for the opening and for the closing of the negotiating chapters. So yes, we are prepared, and maybe it's for the let's say usual people. They are maybe not so how to say they think, okay, tomorrow when we enter the European Union it's going to be everything okay, but there are some things that they are aware of, that the rule of law, and all of us should obey the law, that there is some of us who are untouchable and some of us who are obliged to follow the law. So there are some things. I would say that during these 6 years people accepted some changes, and we conducted some reforms, and they are like the part of our lives. We don't think about those reforms or those changes something that was imposed to us and it's not part of us. No, it's something normal, like the sun and the moon. You don't think about that as something strange or
This something. Is very important, because we had a problem, I think that we still do, with doing that because of Europe, because of becoming members. So obviously you've always been like that. I remember that during our accession in 2007, the biggest problem for the European Union was the so-called enlargement fatigue because of the big wave in 2004. Now the European Union is facing much tougher problems. Is Croatia a little bit concerned to what kind of union it is going to join?
Of course we are concerned, because those problems are not just going to be our problems, but they are our problems, of course. But I think that in the time of crisis you can do some things, let's say, quicker, and you are forced to make some decisions. Okay, they can be hard, they can be tough, but it's for all of us. So about the enlargement fatigue, yes, it can be a problem, but we think that all those countries in this region have to have European future, because that future would be peaceful. That means that we will be stable region, and we know what happened in the past. So for us it's very crucial for all those countries to have their path to the European Union. And of course that process can be long, it is going to be hard, but it should be a European future for all of us, not to forget that.
And Croatia is also obliged to join the euro area once it fulfills the criteria. And do the authorities in Croatia and the people themselves too follow with some kind of anxiety what's going on in the Eurozone? Is there a kind of skepticism?
Well, I can say also that we are concerned, because first of all, when citizens take credits or loans from the bank, they are usually pegged to the euro. 18% of foreign direct investments are from the EU countries. Our tourists are majorly comes from the EU countries, so we are really linked to the European Union. So of course, yes, we are concerned about the future, but we think that we are going to solve that.
And against the background of all these a little bit dark events and things that are going on, are there going to be some kind of celebrations when the treaty is signed?
Of course, we are going to mark that, but right now I really don't know the information where it's going to be and well, how huge or how let's say happy or whatever it's going to be. But of course, that it was our really national goal. So I think that on the 9th of December, all of us will say, okay, right now we are coming back home.
And the current government, could we say that it actually fell a victim of the accession process, because it was this government that finished the negotiations, and a lot of people related to organized crime and the War Tribunal for former Yugoslavia, they finished all this process, and now we are going to have early elections. So is this a victim of the...
It's not the early elections, because the last elections we had in 2007, so it's after the 4 years.
Okay.
Whoever wins the elections, it's up, of course, to the voters. They will proceed with the, how to say, European future. There is not going to be any Eurosceptic government or any less European-oriented government, because since we started the negotiations, we had like a national consensus. All of us have been in favor of joining the European Union. In fact, there is just one parliamentary party that is against the European Union, but they have just one member of the parliament. So there is no fear of Croatia becomes Eurosceptic. Okay. Maybe we would not be so optimistic, so I don't know, we will of course accept and we will, since I said we were deeply concerned about the problems having in Europe, but since we are having, since we are going to be the member, okay, we will be a relevant partner, and of course we will follow all the things that are going on in the Europe.
So you're not afraid that, as was the case with Bulgaria and Romania, we of course have this mechanism in the area of justice and home affairs. You're not going to have one, but do you think that there will be a kind of skepticism on behalf of Brussels that maybe with the new government that all the efforts towards the organized crime and corruption might fall behind?
Right now we are not afraid of that. Of course, it's up to us to present ourselves, that we are stubborn, that we are willing to conduct all the reforms we still have to make. Of course, as I said, we did many hard reforms, but you can never say that you are ideal or perfect. There is always a room to improve, and of course we will continue to improve everything.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.